So let me continue with class exercise number 7, task B. And I'm going to talk to you about JavaScript, where you would start to put in, you can insert JavaScript in the head section of your page, the body section of your page, and the external file that you can link to with it. So this is what this exercise is about with it. So in here, so I'm going to start with talking about your code. Let me pull up the code your view. This is where we left off last time with it, right? And I have a folder with today's date that I'm doing this right now with it. So in the same folder that I have with today's date for this exercise, if you want to click on and create a new file for me, call this file, let's call this thing task B, uppercase T, uppercase the B, .html for me, please. Alright, so again, if you want to go in and just let me just grab everything from my skeleton from the previous task A.html, copy that and bring it over to B and just paste that here and just clean up. And I just basically I want the skeleton for this thing for right now with it. So let me just remove the content of it right here. And it looks like this right now with it. Alright, let me zoom in to start out. That's what I have right now. Let me call this thing, this is task B. Alright, and this is for JavaScript. This is what we're going to talk about, is JavaScript in the head section, the body section, and an external file with it. The first thing I want you to do is let's come down to the body section for this thing with it. And we can do something like an H1 or an H2. Let's say this is JavaScript in the body of HTML. Okay, so looking at this right now, so I'm in the body of this. Anywhere if I want to use the body of this, I need to use what's called the script tag with this. And the script tags allows me to insert in that specific section of JavaScript in here. I'm going to still use the document variable in here. I'm going to do get ID. You're familiar with that, you know, in the previous exercise with it. Inside that ID, I'm going to come up here. Now I haven't named this ID yet. Remember, I usually come up here. Let me come outside before the script tag with this, and I'm going to come in. I'm going to create a paragraph tag, and in this paragraph tag I'm going to put in ID equal demo. Now this is a brand new file, so I could use the word demo with it again, and I'm going to just end that paragraph tag. I have nothing in it right now. Alright, going inside my script tag right here, I'm going to come in, I'm going to add in the quotation of demo, alright, with it. So here's my demo. Inside of this, I'm going to use the inner HTML, which is this part right here. All right, now inner means going to be it's the variable inside of the get element ID. I'm going to use that with it. So I'm going to assign a particular statement in this. I'm going to say my first JavaScript inside HTML section. How's that? Right, that way we kind of have a sense on how this works with it, and how it all pulls together and all this with it as well with it. So let me zoom out so you can see in this entire code. This is what it looks like right now with it. Let me tighten up the code a little bit. So here's what we just did is I had an H2 tag. This is all between the body. We have JavaScript in the body of the HTML. I've created a paragraph tag ID equals demo. I open up my script tag. I close my script tag. Inside of that, I use document.element by ID. I pass across this ID number is demo. This demo is this demo. So inside of this is going to produce a paragraph tag in the inner HTML of the JavaScript in the section for this thing. So this is what a simple script would do. Control S, I save it, and let's take a look at B on a live server. And it looks like this. It looks like this. It's just a simple very clean. This is the one that's in the H2 JavaScript in the body of the HTML, and then the my first JavaScript was going to come across is the paragraph tag with it as well. Alright, so that's that with it. So here's what I want you to do. If you could take a screenshot of this using your snippet tool, paste over to your code with it. Alright, underneath it, right after the script tag that you just inserted, what you do, put in HR for me for horizontal rule. That just draws a line across from it. And we're going to do in the next one. And the next one I want to talk to you about is a little bit more added to this, is that we're going to talk about what's called the JavaScript functions and events with this thing. So the frame, it's going to be placed in the body and the head section for this. So here's what I'm going to talk to you about. Is the first one is the head section for this thing. Just keep everything the same if you want with it. I'm going to come up to the head section. Here's the head section for this, between the head section for this. Let me zoom in a little bit more. So in the head section, okay, in order for this to work, I need for you to do this at this time for me, if you could for me. We need to comment this out because I have, we don't have to. Let's do this. In the head section, let's do the script tag, and then we open up the script tag. This is nested inside the head section of your code. I'm going to talk to you, just bear with me what I'm about to tell you. I'm going to have you write the word function. We're all familiar with function in algebra and function of x and how you put in an argument with it. Function is a reserved word. You can't change that word in JavaScript with it. This is a function name that follows it with it. I'm going to call this thing my function. And I'm going to put left and right parentheses after this. So this whole line is called a function head. And inside of this, I'm going to open up curly left and right curly brackets. So this defines the boundaries, basically, the scope of the function with it. And I'm going to use that same document, that same statement that you just did below with it. All right. So the same statement right here that we just wrote up here, I'm just going to copy that. All right. Just bear with me. Copy that. I'm going to just paste that up here with it. All right. So that's that whole function with it up there with it. Let me zoom out with it. So this is my function with this, but I'm going to change this message in here. And when I change this is I'm going to say this is paragraph written in JavaScript in head section. Okay, so we know this came from the head section. What's more important in this thing is that I'm going to, instead of calling this demo, I can't call the same demo as the other one, right? So I got to give it a demo 1. I haven't created the other demo yet. You realize that, right? So after this right here, all right, so this is where underneath the horizontal rule, I'm going to do, let's call this H1. Let's call this thing, I should call it H2 to make consistency above with it, right? Let's do H2, closing out this right here with it, right? So let's come in here and we're going to actually do, let's call this thing, let's call this thing JavaScript in the head, JavaScript function in the head section of HTML page. Okay, so we know this is from this point on. I'm going to call this with it, and I'm going to create a paragraph tag, same paragraph tag. I'm going to do ID equal, this time this is going to be demo. Guess what this demo is going to be? Demo 1, right? Because that's what you just create. You can't use demo again with it, right? So demo 1, I'm going to close off that. I'm going to say a simple paragraph right here with it, right? So inside of this over here with it, I'd like for you to do button. All right, and this button with it, we're going to type in, use this as a button with it, and come over to the right on click. Unclick with it, and I want you to come, we're going to go in, we're going to do my, what the name of this function is called, what, my function. You see this right here? I want you, whatever you call this function, how you call it, you have to call it by its name. So I'm just going to copy that. I highlighted that so I don't want to misspell any of the words up here with it. And I'm going to paste that right there. Okay, so I'm calling that function that's in my head section, and then I'm going to actually I'm going to say click here to call the function, call the my function from head section. Okay, so that way it kind of gives me what this thing looks like right now with it. Right now I'm going to come over here. Let me scroll over to the right a little bit, or let me zoom back out here with it. Can y'all see that? I know I kind of back out so you can see the whole screen with it. Hit enter, come down at the bottom here, so make sure you close out your button with it. So this is the whole line of code right here. Alright, whole line of code right here for me. Can you do that? And of course I'm going to put a horizontal rule after this. So that'll be another line that's separating what we just did from the previous exercise with it. Control S. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save this thing, and I'm going to right mouse click on task B, open a live server with it. So let me minimize this. This is what this looks like right now with it. Let me just make sure we save everything, refresh it. Click here to, you're going to see how that changes with it. So this is what it was before, a simple paragraph, and I could call that function to actually replace that from the head section. I just replace this right here, and I have this right. So take a screenshot of it before, what it looks like, and take a screenshot of what after you click after it as well. Okay, that will conclude this part with it as well. I'm running, I got about a few minutes left here, so let me continue on with the next exercise that you're going to actually do with this as well. So let's go back here. So that was in the what? That part is inside of your section that you have is in the head section. We need to actually do the next one is the JavaScript in the body. All right. So in the body is the same thing with it. You're not going to put any script. You're going to put the script inside the body that's changing this right now with it. So here's what it's very similar to the top part to it. As you can see, the function that you just wrote here, we're going to do the same thing in here with it. So I'm going to write the function. All right, this function. I'm going to call this thing my function, but I can't call it the same name as the header section. So I'm going to call this my function 1, just a little different. And put a 1 after, and this is in my body right now, in my body of the HTML page right now with it. Right, left curly bracket and opening that up, and I'm going to do the same thing as the same function that you have up there in the above with it. So why don't I just copy that function up there with it? This is the functions, the get ID function with it. So I'm going to copy this right here. I'm just copy that in that section with it. Come down here and paste this in here with it. Let me zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about with it. This time I can't call this thing demo anymore. I have to call this thing a little different with it. So I'm going to call this thing a little different with it. I'm going to call this demo 2. How's that? Just to change it up a little bit with it. Alright, this is demo 2. This is still the inner function. Now this time I'm going to change this. I'm going to say paragraph in the let's say function in the body, and paragraph is changed. Okay, so how do I do that? Remember now, there's a horizontal rule here, so I have to come in here right now. Let's do this. Let's do an H2 consistent with it as well. So let's call this thing JavaScript in body section. Okay, so outside of this, inside of this, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to create a paragraph tag with an ID equal to, I can't call it demo or demo 1 because it's in the same page already, right? Guess what we're going to call this one? We're going to call this thing demo 2, right? So demo 2 is what we're going to call it. And we're going to come over here, we're going to give it a paragraph. Let's say a paragraph from JavaScript in body. How's that? Okay, so we know with the function, let's say with function in body section. Yeah, I like this a little bit more. So this is in the body of the section. This is what you're going to do with it. Now, come to the right of this. So you have your button. Well, you have your JavaScript right now with it. You're going to actually come in this time. You're going to do your button this time with it, right? Same buttons that you put in above with it. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's call this thing. I'm going to take that button on the top line right here that we just did. I'm just going to copy that button that we just did with it, and I'm going to reuse that text right there with it. Alright, and I want to edit this thing. So instead of calling function right here, this function right here, guess what I'm going to call this thing? I'm going to call this thing function 1. Okay, so this text right here, has to be the same text. That has to be the same name. Function 1 is this function 1 right here. It's being used as is in this button with it. So I'm going to say click here to call the my function instead of in the head. I'm going to say this is in the body section. Alright, so this allows me to see what's going on with this. So I'm going to have to save. We wrap up really quick here. Control S saves this, and I would like for you to right mouse click on it, open a live server. It looks like this. So this is what it looks like with it. So I'm going to click on it. Hang on a second. I left a lot of whole things open out here. Let me go back in and fix this. So the reason why this whole thing, see this whole function here is floating here, because I have to put it inside the script tag. The script tag has to bound this right here. All right. So I'm going to go back here to my HTML right here, and I'm going to come in here. I'm going to put script. Close the script right here. Take this. Closing the tag, put it down at the bottom right here. So Control S saves it. Let me minimize this. Refresh the screen right here. You see how that? And I click on this. You see how this is changed? Function in the body is changed right now. Let me refresh it. Paragraph with the function in the body section. I click on this. This changes it. Take a screenshot before and after. You click on it, and I want you to paste that into your section of your code. All right.